Hello and welcome to another video from the Tradelands Nation. This is our monthly world report. We want to start today's video with a special mention. For the past few months, we have been reporting dockside after the red house where we were previously recording was removed through eminent domain and replaced with this gorgeous mansion that sits prominently on the island today. However, we are once again reporting from a studio inside of Whitecrest Isle. We want to give a huge thank you to Hydro78878 for allowing us to use his studio, located at 6 Dock Street, which has an excellent view overlooking the Whitecrest Harbor, as well as direct access to the hustle and bustle of the main street. We appreciate Hydro giving us the opportunity to record the scripted portion of our video from a studio once more. And with that, let's take a look at the economy. As of the closing bell on August 31st, the MNG 15 index closes at 22,764, a gain of 196 points. Despite this strong start to the month, prices were not able to rebound and are generally showing lackluster performance. The JSI index, which focuses on the value of timber felling, fared much better, closing at 18,054, a gain of 4.5%. This index has gained over 3,000 points since the introduction of the new woods to the market, and while performance is strong, it looks like the market has culminated, meaning that it has likely reached the highest level of its upward momentum. Unfortunately, it also means that despite the new additions to the drop tables, timber felling was not able to displace mining as the top performing farming profession. Lastly, we look at the earnings index, which also saw gains, ending at 48,460, a gain of 1,155 points, regaining almost all of last month's losses. It too is showing signs of stagnation, however, leaving the question as to how the economy will perform in the near future. When we look at all three of these indexes side by side, we can see a trend that occurs at roughly the same time in the middle of the month. It's even more prominent when you look at some of the other individual item indexes that make up these combined reports. Notable examples are high volume items like gold, premium tokens, and coal. Notice the point at which all of these experience a price shift. This data coincides with the introduction of the housing auction. The most likely reason for the downward trend is the removal of doubloons through the purchase of these houses, all of which are selling in the millions of doubloons, which leads us to the most requested topic for this month's report, that is the housing market. And since this is such a hot topic, we're going to do something we don't typically do in our monthly reports, and that is give a mini review of this update. Be warned in advance though, our group is not known for being kind when we do these kinds of things. First, let's talk about the impact. When the first two houses were sold for 119 million and 52 million doubloons respectively, it confirmed the tone of the update to be for the most wealthy in Tradelands. It was most likely meant as a way to pull doubloons out of the economy and to prevent runaway inflation. And to that end, the update is doing its job, and we are already seeing the impact of that in our market reports. But this approach also has an unintended effect of becoming a pyramid scheme if you're not careful. Either you have to continually add new properties to the game and hope that the number of players in-game can continue to buy them, or you will have to introduce a way of repossessing existing properties. While we have no known examples of this yet, it was just released, it's probably going to come as quite a shock once the repossessions of multi-million-dollar properties start and it actually becomes a thing. But if you are willing to spend the kind of cash to purchase an address, then you will also want to spend that time to make it worth your investment. The game has a unique furniture system, which allows players to be more creative with their interior decorating skills than you would get in other games, but it does require time and a bit of trial and error. Outside of the houses themselves, the added benefit to this update is the redesign of several waterfronts to prominent locations within Tradelands. The faction that is currently winning in this regard, in our opinion anyway, is none other than Blackwind Cove. What was once a front of a handful of paltry shacks has become an intricate maze, reminiscent of the scenes like you would see in Pirates of the Caribbean movies, rather than just a row of houses that were meant to break up some of the monotony. Nova Belresca also has a sense of this, while other locations are noticeably lagging behind, but hopefully they're on their own way to a facelift. However, the other aspect we reviewed is obtainability, which probably surprises no one. To participate, you have to be on Discord, which has an age restriction of 13 plus. But to be fair, Tradelands already updated its age tag to also be 13 plus as well, so it's not like something wrong is happening here. It just means if you want to fully participate in this game, you do have to have access to applications that are not associated with Roblox. And therein lies a problem for some players, especially those who are not aware of this fact. As a result, we, the players of Tradelands who do know how this works, will bear the responsibility for helping other players who don't know this. Otherwise, they risk being felt left out of the full experience of the game. And finally, the part of the review which matters the most to our group is immersion. Unfortunately, we aren't seeing a big difference in this yet, but we do believe it's something that may come. Walking around the islands and attempting to view the houses, you'll find that most of the doors are locked. In fact, it's still better to just walk to the landlord, as you would have previously, to find the one that you're looking for. That's because the player who owns the house has to be on your server in order for you to access it. And therein lies the problem. Even if you add enough houses for every player, the server is currently limited to 50 people on any single server. That means, even in the best case, if everyone owned a house, only a third of the houses can actually be used at any point in time. If this feature takes off in the way that it appears to be, then we can probably expect this to be a focus of development in the future. For example, if the game has 150 spots that can be occupied, one of the potential advantages of this system is being able to visit a house when an owner is not present, assuming they gave public access, that is, because they wouldn't appear in the landlord list, so you would have to go exploring in order to find their house on the map. And to conclude, if we had to give this update a rating, it would be a B+. On the plus side, the housing update has been well received by the player base, and it is having the impact on the game mechanics that it was meant to have. When compared to other games out there with similar house mechanics, games such as Adopt Me, Bloxburg, Berry Avenue, and Brookhaven, which are the ones that we compared it to for this mini review, it actually stood up very well. Unlike those games, the housing update seems to serve a different purpose in Tradelands, but the creative freedom that you get in Tradelands houses and the underlying potential it has if the developer can make it a more immersive experience will set it apart from other games with similar mechanics. And hopefully it continues to expand and change the way that the artisans and shop owners interact with customers and players alike, as well as make the other islands of Tradelands an exploration adventure, the way that Blackwind Cove appears to be as you make your way through the various alleyways to the houses that are hidden off in the corners. And now on to the politics of Tradelands. The war with Purshovia is over. With their full withdrawal from the Grand Isles, it would seem that the Alliance has finally won. But even in victory, we must be careful not to forget what they were capable of. From the defense mounted by the 31 Purshovians, holding out against multiple assaults on Clydesdale for over a month, earning themselves the legacy as the finest Marines in the game, to the decisive win at Harrisburg, capturing the island, securing an important tactical victory when all else seemed lost. From the epic duel atop the ramparts on Clydesdale, to the brave sacrifices made by the Purshovian sailors so their navy may have a fighting chance against unreasonable odds. The Purshovians never lacked bravery or heroism. They merely lacked the right technology and luck. A lesson that the Alliance would do well to remember as they move into the more peaceful endeavors. But as the Purshovians left and turned off their obsidian tower, an ominous message was sent. Beware. Mere days later, while still licking their wounds, the new and potentially even greater threat would emerge from the ocean itself. King Neptune, Lord Burke's evil brother, had returned. But what this meant for the people of the Grand Isles has yet to be fully revealed. What we do know so far is his return has sparked the Tickle Wars, seemingly an underground war between the various civilian factions of the Grand Isles. So far, there has been minimal naval involvement, presumably as they do not currently have the strength to fight this new menace, as many of these nations are still licking their wounds from the extensive war with Purshovia. Perhaps the greatest casualty of this new direction is none other than Chancellor Lostic. A mere month into his peaceful reign, and he has already been the target of a conspiracy. Forced to resign his chancellorship, he has been replaced by the Bucket Man. Bucket Man. While we wait to see what he will do in his new role, we look back at the brief but very effective leadership of Chancellor Lostic. While many may paint him as a man who left his office in disgrace, he played a direct hand in bringing together the alliance, uniting the kingdoms of Berkland, Nova, and Whitecrest. He led his forces to defeat Purshovia, and until they return, he will forever hold the honor of being the one who fully removed them from the Grand Isles. So while he sets off into the sunset, like so many chancellors before him, we have to wonder, is this the last Lostic legacy in Tradelands? Or is he destined to return to start a brand new chapter in the history books of Tradelands? I suppose only time will tell. And for now, the Bucket Man leads us into a new era of peace and prosperity. We wonder if the coup had more to do with the rise of King Neptune, or perhaps something more sinister and more corrupt. But we will likely have to wait, as September promises to bring us a return to more peaceful ventures, such as the return to the Berkland Games. So as we end today's broadcast, we want to note that pirates are said to be increasing their activity on the high seas. So stay safe out there, everyone, and happy trading.